Welcome back to TalkTV with me, David Bull. Thank you very much indeed for your messages. So before the break, Renee and I were talking about the NHS. Apparently we've got to protect it yet again, even though we don't seem to have learned the lessons from the last lockdown, which means that we've got 6.7 million people waiting for elective procedures, people dying as a result of not being able to be seen. You can't see a GP. Meanwhile, the BMA, I don't know what they do. Anyway, I'm sure I shall be in their very bad books after that conversation with Renee that we had before the break. Lots of messages. Jackie, good morning. Jackie says, why isn't the government bringing in more of St John's Ambulance and funding private ambulances? Elderly people being left on the floor for 15 hours with by the public service is cruel and providing a third world service. This one says from Chili Chip and Gore says, if GP surgery was open and willing to see people, then A&E would have absolutely no problems. This has now turned a GP problem into something much bigger, and that is the problem that people are now going to hospital because they won't give appointments out. That is very true indeed. And this one, which I think sums up the whole thing, Brexit Duck, good morning, says, reluctantly, my wife and I have taken out private medical insurance because the NHS is a mess. We're lucky and can afford it. And we spoke about this just before we came on air, and I said, I think I need to start private insurance.
And I said, I already have it. You know, because I agree. You want to make sure that your family are covered should they need to be covered.
But what a shocking state of affairs.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, joining us now this morning is Russell Quirk to run through this morning's papers.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. There should be tax relief on private health insurance, shouldn't there?
Yes, they should.
Yes, I think that's been mooted in the leadership campaign over the last 24 hours, actually. I think Sunak actually said that he supports it. No, I hasn't said anything about that in the last 3 years, I don't know. But surely that is part of the solution, isn't it? So
I would have thought so.
People that are minded to have private health insurance, people that can afford it, take themselves out of the logjam, effectively. So how can that not be a good thing to do?
It's a great idea.
It is a great idea, although probably those people are out of the lockdown anyway, because if they have a problem, they use their health insurance.
But it would encourage more people.
It would encourage those people in the middle earners to do that.
Because it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
And also, but the thing about private healthcare, which is always tricky, is they are very good at excluding underlying conditions.
Yes.
So you have to then declare various things. If you have, say, epilepsy, for example, you have to declare that, and then they won't touch you.
Yeah, but it would certainly help, wouldn't it, insofar as this, as you just be talking about, you know, this continuing NHS crisis disaster thing that seems to befall us, I mean, constantly. This has been something that's been in the news, not just over the last 12 months or so, but for the last 10, 15, 20 years. Every winter there's a crisis. Every winter we hear there's only 24 hours to save the NHS.
Yes, and I think that's really important because people think that, oh, this is COVID, and during COVID people are going, oh, what do you expect, it's COVID. Well, actually, no, this has been going on for decades, and COVID has just put the spotlight on it.
Yeah, it was the tipping point, wasn't it?
And talking of papers, so front page of the Daily Mail this morning talks about this NHS blows 1 million on woke groups for staff. Believe it or not, the Daily Mail have underclubbed that quite substantially.
Wow.
So, well, a little bit of research this morning tells me that actually the NHS, would you believe the NHS spends £34 million a year just on PR alone?
What?
Through 826 members of staff across the country. Public relations.
Why?
34, you tell me. £34 million on PR via 826 employees.
So, and that will be commissioned by different trusts, I assume, and probably telling them about diversity, don't tell me.
What? No. There's an additional budget.
There's more money for that.
There's an additional budget, I'm afraid, David. 165 equality and diversity members of staff.
Right, they should all go.
At a cost of...
All go.
At a cost of £7 million. That's on top of the 34. And then, sorry, it gets worse. Hopefully, look, we're all cringing and shouting and screaming at this because I think it's absolutely outrageous given the fact that the NHS is in a financial crisis, or rather an organisational crisis, surely. Not a financial crisis, an organisational crisis. 86 members of staff within the NHS that are specifically tasked with the green agenda, and that's at a cost of £3.5 million. So adding up, that is £45 million. Isn't it unusual for the Daily Mail to actually not exaggerate but substantially underclub the money that the NHS are wasting on nonsense and rubbish?
It is, Russell, but I can already hear people screaming, oh, 46 million is a drop in the ocean of the NHS budget, because that's what they'll say. But it isn't.
But this is just scratching the surface.
We need every single penny of this, and we don't need diversity officers. I'm sorry, we really don't.
We don't.
Because most doctors are fairly diverse in their outlook anyway, and everybody in
Isn't
society
the NHS
now...
full of diversity?
Well,
Was
exactly.
it 45 to 50% of the NHS is ethnic minority
Exactly.
college? Yeah.
You know,
So
There was a story about rainbow-coloured cakes this morning as well that they were handing out at one NHS
my daughter
trust.
wants a rainbow cake for her birthday
That's
tomorrow.
okay.
it's such a
She
great
can have
idea.
that.
It reminds me of something I saw yesterday. Camden Council actually just spent tens of thousands of pounds painting bollards in rainbow colours.
Of course
You
they
are
have.
kidding.
I'm not kidding. I'm sorry. I hate to be the harbinger of doom. It's just
Right, so how much did you save in 5 minutes from the NHS?
I've just saved £45 million.
Well, that's pretty
It's
good.
not bad between us, is it,
I mean,
really?
before breakfast, that's pretty excellent work.
Yes. So
In the day.
why is someone in government or the NHS not doing this?
But
So-
this is the point. This is the point. Why aren't they doing
well,
anything?
we talked about this off there.
It drives me nuts.
One of the problems with the NHS, apart from organisation and efficiency, and the fact you've got all of these kind of moving parts that don't seem to speak to each other,
Yes.
particularly when it comes to procurement, is the question of a lack of accountability. There simply is no accountability. You know, if there's an issue, I know there's accountability within a hospital or a kind of an NHS trust to an extent, but no one's really carrying the can, are they? When was the last time you heard of someone being fired for incompetence in the NHS? Well, there you go. And there's lots
And
of it,
also,
so why
actually,
aren't they?
the payouts from the NHS for those people who've suffered as a result of accidents and negligence is enormous as well.
Yes.
And again, no accountability.
Yeah. So, look, I think we could talk about this all day. I think the NHS and putting it to
Well,
rights.
I still think we should have national procurement. We've spoken about
Well,
this. The fact is, why are we buying syringes at different prices for different
100%.
trusts?
But here we sit, you know, in the middle of, I mean, what I would only characterise, really, I'm afraid, and I say this as a massive patriot, and I sit on the centre right, broken Britain, and the NHS, I'm afraid, seems to be very much a symptom of that, you know, and notwithstanding everything else that's going on, you know, water, energy costs, rail strikes and so on, which I'd like to come on to, by the way.
Yeah.
But look, you know, someone needs to get hold of this. Let's hope Truss or Sunak, whoever is selected and elected in a few weeks' time, you know, sits down in a darkened room and actually deals with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because we are literally going to hell in a handcart, this country.
Well, I agree. I mean, time is against us, but obviously the NHS, I think, is something that resonates with every single person in this country, and I'm deeply nervous that yet again we're being told we have to save it. I just think it's all the wrong way round.
Well, it is, you know, as per the water companies, you know, they're leaking 3 billion litres of water a day, and they're telling us
Yep.
that we can't now use water as a consequence of their incompetence.
That's right. Of course, you have to be competent,
3
and we don't do that in this country. Right, time for a break. This is Talk TV.